Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Move Through Motivation. I am joined today by my
best wife.
The best wife, the blessed wife of being married to me. She is my bride of going on 14 years, Sheri Olson. Welcome to the cast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's such an awkward thing when you get in a car with your wife and you have
You do it every day, and then there's a camera in your face, and you're like, "Hey."
So we're gonna keep this about as real and as we can without me getting, slug bugged in the arm real quick. But I wanted to bring Sheri on an episode to talk about what it was like being Matt's wife in my battle with cancer. And so, with further ado, Sheri, you want to share, tell the people, what you want to do, tell everybody what it was like what it was like in your journey. Because everybody who knows us is going to learn to know my journey. But what's it like for a family who's going to start a battle? Maybe they're battling now, maybe they're going to be battling in the future. What do you tell the spouse as a wife of somebody? Tell us your story. Tell me what your story is.
Well, I don't even know if I could say what I would tell them. I think just starting from the beginning, being in the hospital, you think you're just having a surgery, and then it turns in from a surgery to having cancer, and, it's processing it, and then leaving the hospital. Actually, we left the hospital. We didn't know you had cancer yet, but I suspected it. And then a few days after, getting that phone call from the doctor for you at jiu-jitsu, and me being with the boys just another Tuesday night, and then you telling me the doctor called and said it was cancer, and then me calling the doctor afterwards and talking to him while you were still with the boys. There's no words for that emotion in that moment. I think that night when all of our friends came out, thankfully that we have that support group that we did, and still do. But that night we joked around about it, but although it was a joke, it was kind of serious, like planning your funeral. In my mind, it was, I'm already a widow. I'm the boys aren't going to have a dad. I have to plan your funeral. What am I going to do?
And you got this emotion from...
And that was just a natural, and I don't know if that was my defense of, oh my gosh, my husband has cancer. What am I going to do? Just naturally, that's just where your mind goes. I don't know.
Was that from the initial news, or is that just flashbang thinking of cancer in general? What made that emotion come over? Was it just,
I think hearing the cancer word, and I'll never forget the doctor, I don't want to say his name just in case, but he told me, he's like, yeah, if anyone has to have any kind of cancer, this is the one that you want. I'm like, oh.
It's encouraging
words, but at the same time, it's still cancer. What? And then you just think cancer and death. You don't think about everything that you have to go through to fight it. You just think you associate it with death. And so the first day I was a hot mess.
Yeah, I would say that the day we call that day day zero.
Day zero.
Yeah. And that was a pretty cool night, right? I mean, we had our dearest friends. They drove from Long Beach out, the Bischoffs, the Lambs, the Hazlets. They all came out and sat by and held our hand. And what was that like, having that kind of support for you that day, especially on day zero, the day we found out?
I probably just would have went in my bed and cried myself to sleep all night. But just being able to talk about it and venting and being able to say out loud my husband's gonna die, or laughing about it and making it more real versus just sitting there and dwelling and having those real talks about no, it's okay, you can fight it. Just, I don't know, having.
Did you want to kiss me a little bit more that day? Do you think you
yes,
wanted to hold my hand? I mean,
you know what? I'm not the touchy-feely person. I'm not kissy. I'm not mushy. But I was sitting in your lap and just holding you and hugging you. I just want to hug you and touch you.
If it's one great thing that happened, is that my wife, her love language is physical touch.
For good 48 hours.
I got the most. She couldn't.
That night, I remember we laid in bed and cried.
Yeah, we like our space in bed because we both like to be comfortable. But her hand wouldn't get. She wouldn't stop touching.
I was
me.
I just have to know you're alive and here.
I'm still here. So that was day zero. Let's talk about.
I think that lasted a couple nights though.
Yeah, I did. Listen to me. Sometimes I wish I got diagnosed every single day because I am loved every time of my life.
No, but it's true. I just like I had that need of like
Affection?
just no, not even affection, like in the sense of like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get this again because you're dying. Not trying to laugh, but like
No, it is kind of funny because I feel the same way. I'm like, why do we feel this weird? It's almost like I feel like it was like when we first started dating.
Oh, it was an instant
you know what I mean?
connection.
It was like the first time we went on a date. Like, oh my gosh, like, and I think for me at least, I took advantage of like 13 years of of what we had, and like we're like, okay, is this the last year? Is this the last 6 months? And that was for me. So tell me this. Tell me that was Tuesday. Tell me what it was like in your eyes when we told the boys. How did you come to it? What was going through your mind?
Okay, we told the boys on a Friday night. I think even before that, I think it was Kylan or maybe Case, not remember. One of the boys had a baseball game the day after, I think, on a Wednesday. It might have been Thursday, I'm not sure. And I'll never forget, like, and I'll probably get emotional now, like seeing everyone for the first time. Okay, now where's my tissue? We didn't bring tissue on this.
Listen, this podcast is not supply tissues, but I got my shirt. You can cry on my shirt, babe.
Okay,
it's right here for you.
I got my shirt.
All right.
Okay, I got it out. But I'll never forget, like, going to the baseball game for the first time. Like, everyone knew about it. Like, they saw the post and, like, walking to, like, see friends and family. And, like, they just give you that look.
Yeah.
And, like, getting that look was just, like, heart-wrenching. And I just kept telling them, I said, it's okay. And, like, they'd put their arms out and, like, I would hug them. And then I'm like, I can't talk about it right now. Like, don't talk to me. And I felt bad, but, like, I just had to, like, get myself together and, like, get my emotions under control, or else I just would have cried the whole entire time. So I'll never forget that moment, and just, and afterwards, like, like I laugh about it now, but I felt bad at the time, but I just told them, I can't talk about it. Like, I'm just gonna sit here and watch the game. And everyone just sat there, like, silently and, like, stared at the field and, like.
They looked at me on the field and you in the field. Like, it was an awkward feeling, but.
But then I, like, kind of, like, once I got composure, I was like, okay, guys. Like, okay, yes, he has cancer. Yes, he has a doctor's appointment. But, like, even walking up to everyone, I just had that nervousness of, like, oh my gosh, like, it just kind of hit me and it's real. And then I don't think I really got over that until we told the boys. And I think, like, a lot of my initial emotions, like, went away after the boys knew, because I think that was the hardest thing for me as, like, a mom, is how am I going to tell my kids that their dad has cancer and he might die? And again, that was the initial thought, like, it goes back to death. So we told the boys on that Friday, and we tried to make, as you remember, a joke about it. And this is the one time we told the boys that they're allowed to say
we let them say
a bad word.
Yeah,
we're like, we told them, we said, Dad has this thing called Hodge.
Yeah, we called it Hodge.
We got to fight it. It's going to be, it's going to make Dad sick. He might look different. He might be grumpy, but, it's Hodge is a cancer. But you know what? We're going to kick Hodge's ass.
Yeah,
and we put our hands in a circle.
Kason got to say the A word that night.
But then he also added another word, and I think it was, yes.
It's a PG show, so we won't say that. We let him say it. We cannot remember if we let him say that or if
no, we did not let him say it. He said on his own.
Yeah, but we wanted to let some emotion out, and they were able to do that, and they kind of chuckled. We tried to make it light. We didn't want to make it, Dr. Dread, right?
Yeah, and I think that was the first time I had to set aside the thinking that you're dying and turning it into.
Thank you.
I'm serious though, like,
thank you for that.
Thinking about, like, you're not dying in the sense of, like, now it's time for me to, like, be strong because they need it.
Yeah.
And then those emotions kind of flip to, like, okay, I'm not going to be a widow, and if I am, like, I have to be strong for them. But that's where it turned into, like, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, soon. But at the end, where it was just exhausted,
Okay, so let's go down the next road. We have our first visit to the doctor. Emotional day. We got into City of Hope and we started chemo.
I was away for a work trip when you had your first scan.
Yeah, that's right.
And I made you call me from.
Yeah, we had to do a phone conference with our doctor. And
someone always has to be in the room.
Yeah. My father came with me and he sat with me, and Sheri got on the call and she wanted to be in the call, and, like, we were having a phone conference as this lady's.
And I'm in Virginia.
And she's in Virginia. But what was kind of cool is, and I want to pause there for a second and talk about our trip. So we had a trip planned.
Oh, yeah.
We had a trip planned before we got diagnosed.
To go to Washington, D.C.
We had Washington, D.C. And we didn't want to start treatment. We didn't want to start treatment and then go on a trip. So what was that like on our trip? Because that was a special trip for us, I think.
Yeah, and I think even before that, like just meeting with the doctor, it's she'd mentioned, everyone, when you get diagnosed, everyone thinks you need to start chemo right away, but it doesn't matter if you start right away or in a month. Like, so going on our trip, was going to be totally fine. So we went to DC. We already had it planned, and again, in the back of my mind, I'm probably thinking this is our last vacation ever.
It's true. It's true. We did have some emotional, like, what if this is the last one? Right? Like we talked about it, the boys.
But we didn't dwell on it. We had
a
it was
great
probably
time.
one of our favorite vacations that we've had.
We walked 36 miles in 4 days,
Yes.
something like that. So
It was pretty, it was fun.
yeah, we had a good time.
But I remember there was a couple of moments where I was getting upset with you because I was like, why do you keep walking away? Like, we're here, like, be present, like, the boys are here. But then you would just come back like 20 minutes later, and then you finally told me when we got back that you had your own little moment. And
yeah, I was having a really hard time we would be walking next to a monument, or we'd be walking in
it was
a
at
museum.
Washington's house.
I don't know what it was. I mean, I'm looking at you three, and I feel like I'm a ghost, and I don't know, because we don't know what's going to happen with chemo. We don't know what's going to go in the journey, and there was a lot of emotions in that trip, but we had a great time. I mean, we had, and I think that's where we kind of found our little 3-day trip is something that we like and enjoy, like a 3 or 4 day trip somewhere, and, take in as much as we can while we're there and get after it and go hard. So, all right, let's talk about a couple other things now. Let's talk about chemo. What do you think about chemo? What was your emotion when we first started?
Well, number one, you're scared of needles, so I was wondering how you're going to handle that.
57 pokes.
I'll be honest, I think you hear chemo and you think like vomiting and nausea and like laying in bed all day. So like part of me, you changed my perception of chemo, because yes, that happens, but like you also didn't allow it to happen to you. And I don't know if it's just because the way you're built.
Yeah, well, I think...
But like, I remember the first time you had chemo, I feel like you were kind of playing into it a little more. You're like, I need breakfast. But then I'm like, you're out and about, you went to the gym, you're just fine. I made you waffles, and you're like, can I have more? I'm like, you're not sick.
Yeah, I know. This is it, guys. After the first one, I thought I was a superstar and I was the chemo champ, but...
I think it was like the third or fourth you finally...
Well, I mean, after round 3 is when life changed, and I call the toxin flush just started coming through me.
But there was a couple times I remember, like, I feel like overall you did well with it until towards the end. But there was only a certain, I don't know, when did you start getting sick? Like,
it was round 4. Round 4 is when I puked every time. After round 4, I was puking.
Well, you puked at the doctor, and then you would just come home and go straight to bed. But at that point, I realized, like, that's what he's got to do. Like, it's not about me. Like, it's not family time after chemo. It's just let him be, and then he's going to get up in the morning and go to work. And if he says he doesn't feel good, okay, you don't feel good. But then there was one time, I think it might have been the last time, because the boys and I were really excited, and we tried surprising you with signs, and you walked in the door and you just kind of like did this to us, and like we're like, what? And we say, congratulations, you're done with chemo, and you just like moved the signs out of your way, and then you just went upstairs, and
I think that was a sad day for me, because you guys put
and we made like ice cream.
You made signs and ice cream, and Mom drove me home.
Yeah.
And you had the boys came with us, but they couldn't go with us. But you guys made all these signs, and later on in life, and I look back now, I'm like, man, that would have been a moment. But I do remember, and there were pictures of it. We'll have to post them and show what it was, because there was...
Well, I posted about it. That's when I was like, no, this is real, because like we were trying to be excited, and you were just like not having any of it.
Okay. And so let's talk about...
But that's where, as a parent, again, I had to have the conversation with the boys of... Dad's not feeling well, this is last chemo, yes, we'll try to celebrate another time. Like, we have to be understanding that it's...
And do you think, as a spouse of somebody going through cancer, do you think it's better to be stronger for your kid? Like not show emotion, cry. Like, how did you handle it with the boys? Take me aside, if I go, you still have the boys. How did you handle that? What was in your mind with that?
That's hard to explain, because I feel like before it happened, like, you got to be the strong parent, you don't show emotion. But then as becoming a parent, I realized, like, you have to talk about life, and life happens, and you got to prepare them for life. And this is part of life, whether it's cancer or some other illness or some other tragedy. But then there were certain times where, like, I couldn't help but not cry in front of them, or I couldn't help but not have a conversation with a friend and they're in the room, and so they would hear things, and so then I kind of realized, like, we have to tell them, we have to have that real talk with them. And also I think what helped is just praying about it a lot. Like, I felt like we were most in our religion and praying and like during that struggle. And I think that's what got us through it. And then also teaching the boys, you know what, like, we can't control this. It's in God's hands, and we just have to pray about it. And, we're hoping for the best, but, we're going to try to beat it, but it's not our control.
Yeah, I do want to say that I really feel that you in particular, and this is just me saying this out loud, is that I think you took on a different role in our family at that time. You started about a couple months before you started Devotional, that book, and you did it every day, and to this day you still do it religiously, and I'm proud and encouraged that you did that. And I think that was kind of a connection with you and the boys, right?
Well, and speaking of that devotional book, so I started doing like online stuff before that, and then our neighbor, she...
Araceli?
Yeah, I don't know if I could say names or not.
Say her name.
Okay, Araceli. Thank
Awesome,
you, Araceli. She gave me her devotional book that she was reading, and she wrote a note in it. Not to get emotional again. Gosh, Matt.
Hey, listen, I can bring a tear to your eye, baby.
But that like just changed my perception on the struggle and the fight, because like I felt like every day when I read that, it hit the spot. Like it was just, it dealt or related to what we were going through. And so I feel like that truly got me through it. And then after reading, a couple days or a week, I just made the boys, we read it out loud. And even though it was a woman's devotional, I made sure that I relayed it to the kids and said it in their, kid talk. But that helped. But yeah.
Okay, one second. Interesting
Stop
side note.
making me cry.
Interesting side note of when I got diagnosed, we start chemo. At church, they were talking about Job. And that series went all the way through, I think, late August, September.
Almost.
And I was just, my whole entire treatment was learning about the book of Job and his struggles. And it's really strange how things work out. And, God had a plan. And it's interesting that certain things that came into our life at that time and people that were around us really got us through. But next question. Am I really attractive?
Oh my
I
gosh.
want this on public.
Oh my gosh.
Just answer this
You're
one
so
question.
Ugly.
Am I more attractive now or
no,
before
because
chemo?
you keep shaving your head, and I tell you to grow it a little.
I know. I'm inspired because I just don't like hair.
No, just do it short.
I know, but let me ask you a question. Am I more? This is a very serious question right now. We're taking. Am I more attractive now?
Why do you want this documented?
I want this documented because one day our great grandchildren are going to see this, and I want them to know. Did great grandma Olson think I was more attractive before or after chemo? Go.
After.
Oh man. So.
No,
wait a minute.
Well, I don't know. It depends. What are we talking about here?
Do you think that my muscles got bigger?
Oh my gosh.
What do you think? Do you think my looks became a little bit more
We do have a friend that said on your 40th that chemo did wonders for you.
Yeah. I had poison inside me and it made me better. So, anyways, all right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Sorry for that commercial, but I had to make sure. Words of affirmation are my love language.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're so wonderful.
Yeah, see, this is all that I needed. This is all that we need.
And I'm touching. You're so sweet.
I'm getting chills on me. All right, real quick. Let's go back to at the end. And we'll dive into more. And I really like our little dialogue here. It's actually pretty interesting.
Oh my gosh.
I know. But I want you to tell people what it was like, because a perception of when we finished treatment. Tell them what it was like in our house. Was it a joyous place or a happy place or a dark place?
I think two of the worst times through the whole process was, number one, finding out and telling the kids, and the day that you're technically starting remission.
Yep.
Those were the worst days. And everyone thinks, I'll never forget too. It's, we get the scan and you say a post you're so excited that, you're in remission, tumor's gone, cancer's gone. And we get 1,000 texts, posts, messages, phone calls. Congratulations, now you guys can celebrate. This is such great news. And I don't remember, were the boys home? I think they were at grandparents because they were off track. And it was just us in the house.
Dark.
And we never just have a quiet night just because Matt's not quiet.
It's true. This is very
You're
true.
not drunk.
I don't.
You're not quiet.
I don't lie. I'm loud. I'm really, really loud.
But like we literally just sat on the couch. There was no TV. Like the kids weren't there, and we just like sat and stared and talked. We're like, this is weird. And everyone's still calling congratulations, and we're like,
we're sitting in the dark.
We're sitting like in a room by ourselves, no sound, not saying anything. And then we just finally said like, this is really weird. And it wasn't weird in the sense, and actually I think we processed it maybe like a day later, but it wasn't weird, and we weren't sad that it was over. We were like, I think mentally and emotionally drained, exhausted, because like, and I told Matt, or I told you, I told you, you know, I'll never forget though, like it's you, in the beginning, I'm trying to stay positive for my kids and you, or our kids and you, I'm just talking, you know what I mean? I'm trying to stay positive for them, I'm trying to stay positive for you, and then I'm trying to like put my guard up and keep myself strong for, you know, and able to do that, in order to do that. And then I'm also, you know, being positive for friends and everyone asking about you. And at the end, it's like, you're just drained because you've tried to keep up that like positive energy and that emotion and like staying strong the whole time, that it's like you just finally just release it. But then it's like almost like a PTSD type thing kicked in. Like it took probably a good 4 or 5 months for us to get back to normal. Or
I think 2019 was a year of us, like between I think September, going through the holidays, like it was dark. We talk about it, like it was a hard time in our relationship. I didn't know who I was after cancer. We just really couldn't connect. Like it was a very dark place.
But not even like.
When I say dark, I'm saying it was dark.
It was. I'm not saying just in our marriage, but just in life in general.
Yeah,
like
we didn't know how to.
You know, you have your friends
weird.
calling you every day, asking how everything's going or how are you doing, and then it goes to like, oh, well, it's gone and everything's great and everyone's back to their daily life, and like it's adjusting. I don't know. I think we learned too, like as far as friendships, like who reaches out and who doesn't, and you know, like going back to earlier, we were saying Matt's wife. And I think that was part of the draining thing for me. Sorry, I'm doing a squirrel, but
yeah, but Matt's wife is. I was going to ask you about that.
No,
Matt's
but
wife. Being Matt's wife.
Everything.
Right?
I was always Matt's wife, or you know, during this whole ordeal, and then it was, if I get a phone call, how's Matt doing? I've only probably 3 or 4 times did a couple of friends say, how are you doing? And then like get emotional again, like hearing that, like I would just break down when they asked, because like you don't. People always ask about you, and it's not like a selfish thing. It's just a normal, like I would ask too, but like you forget about how like the partner's doing, the spouse is doing.
And that was, I mean.
And so again, like at the end, it was like, wait, how am I doing? I don't know how I'm doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of times as a cancer patient, you know, we go through what we go, and we're a secret fraternity. But I think there's also another side of this that people need an outreach for of.
Well, and I had Neil.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
yeah, Neil,
I mean,
Neil was a good backbone for you.
Like we
Melanie's
would, you know,
husband.
text or reach out, and he was one of the ones who like, how are you doing? Like, I know how Matt's doing, but like, how are you feeling, or what do you need? You know, and then I would be like, nothing, but you know, but I learned how to like receive help through it, and that was hard.
And do you think that us putting it out in display was a good or a bad thing? Do you think it was what we should have done, or do you look back and say we've been able to help other people? What do you think?
I think when you first did it, I'm like, why would you put it out there? This is weird, but I'm more of a private person and you're not. So, but like during that time, we've always said like so many people have reached out, like this is a blessing in disguise. You know, so-and-so has reached out to you and you're helping them through their journey. And then I think 2019, it was kind of, we wanted to put it out there and help, or it was already out there, but we wanted help. We didn't know how. And so I feel like this year it's kind of, we know how and it's happening. And
Move Through Motivation is a company that's started by 3 families, and obviously you're part of this and you're in this journey. And are you excited about this, about helping people? Because that's what we do. I mean, are you really? I mean, you're an introvert. But
I'm an introvert, so you can't ask that question.
But,
Obviously, I'm excited. I don't know how to express that.
Yeah, I know, and I want to say this because sometimes Sheri won't do it, and I'm going to speak up for her. She's got a heart of gold, and I don't do a good job of explaining that to people sometimes because I am an extrovert and I'm always in your face. but she's the first person to call me and said, hey, somebody's going through a hard time. We need to get them dinner. Somebody's going through a hard time. You need to go and see them. And she's not a person that really, I don't say behind the scenes person, but
Oh, I'm behind the scenes. I'll tell you, like, Matt, go do this. But then I'm like, you should do this.
You need to, yeah, but you do a good job, and I thank you for that. I give you words of affirmation on that you do a good job of, being a support system in this journey, because I want to make sure that we help as many people as we can. And there are people that you are just like you, that were, a spouse.
Well, and I think that's where Neil, like, I want to be the new Neil.
Yeah, Neil did a great job.
Well, then we had a friend who got diagnosed, and I reached out to that wife, and I told her, I said, this is going to suck. It's not going to be fun, but it's how you handle it, and it's
who you put around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're most grateful for in our journey, and Sheri and I talk about this openly, is like our relationships with certain people have gotten a lot stronger with a lot of people, and our network of friends is so diverse, from high school to college to workplace, of people that have helped us. Yeah,
sports.
The community, our city, the sports affiliations like the Little League and Eastvale, and we're just grateful, right? I mean, I think so. Sherry Lynn, I got to tell you.
Matthew Michael?
Sherry Lynn, I'm very proud of you on this. You were super nervous to do this.
I don't like being behind the camera, and it's like in my face camera.
I know, but I'm really thankful you did this, and I love you, and you might have to be a guest on future episodes of the podcast. So
we'll have a marriage talk.
Yeah, a marriage talk. I think that'd be a good one. I think a marriage talk about tell them how good looking I am as I entered 40 years old. So
just grow out your hair a little bit, and then I'll give you that compliment.
No, I can't.
Just a little bit.
I love the fresh shape. We appreciate you. We love you, fam, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And remember to just keep moving. And if you need a word of encouragement and a little motivation,
reach out.
Hit us up at Move Through Motivation, and we will be your source for encouragement. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day.